Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have a really exciting interview ahead of us with a guest who believes that women are the driving force of entrepreneurial growth and women-owned businesses are the key to worldwide change, innovation, and advancement. Today, you'll be meeting Angie Giltner, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who energizes women from all around the world to succeed in business. Welcome to the show, Angie. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, Suzy, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited too. You had me from your profile picture. It was so much fun. So we're going to get started. I know we're going to have a great conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business and what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be getting in your way a little bit here or there, maybe a lot, you'll tell us, and it might be challenging for you in your life as well as being a business owner. So let's get started with how old you are, how long you've been an entrepreneur, and a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, and of course, what it is that you do in the world. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, Suzy. So I am 50 plus 1 years old because that just sounds so much better than saying 51, right? Plus, adding the plus one just makes you sound so much more wise. So I like to say it like that. I have been an entrepreneur since 2013, and much like many women, I started my business out of adversity. I was actually working for a nonprofit who I'd been with for 10 years. I created the program, developed the program, funded the program through grants. I mean, I put my heart and soul into this program and grew it into something massive, was hiring somebody new to come on because the program was growing. And I found out the CEO offered him $3,000 a year more than I was making.
Okay, my jaw is dropped, and this is, it's just so aggravating. Wow.
So aggravating. So I went to the CEO and I said, excuse me. Okay, let's be honest. I wasn't that nice. But for the sake of the show, I said, excuse me, I'm not okay with this. And he looked me dead square in the face and said, that's all you're worth. I quit my job immediately on the spot. Walked away, cleaned out my office. I said, no one is ever going to tell me that's all you're worth ever again. 4 days later, I had my LLC and I have not looked back. Now there's a kicker to this. If you can imagine, it gets worse.
No.
So when he found out that I started my business, he called and left me a voicemail and said, and when your business fails, I will gladly accept your resume back. Can you imagine?
What a guy.
Yes, indeed. So when my best-selling book came out, I have a whole chapter in there that chronicles the nitty-gritty details of that whole story. It's called That's All You're Worth, that chapter. I autographed my book and I mailed it to him. Now, I'd have given anything to have seen the look on his face when he opened up that package. Now, I'm pretty sure he used it for toilet paper, but I don't care because the satisfaction I got from sending him my book, it's like, yeah, buddy, no one will ever tell me that's all you're worth ever again.
Oh my gosh. Angie, did you glitter bomb that thing too?
Oh, I kept that voicemail for 5 years because I used it for motivation. And anytime something was creeping in or I was up against some type of challenge, I was like, nope, remember one of the reasons why you're doing this.
What a powerful story. My goodness. And life-changing.
Life-changing. So in hindsight, now he's since passed on, so he'll never hear this. And I would never, ever admit this to him, but he actually did me a favor because now I get to empower women from all over the world and they charge what they deserve. And to me, because I don't care who you are. I never want anyone to feel like I felt in that moment being told that's all you're worth was awful.
I can't believe that that's what he said. Like he could have lied. He could have said, we don't have the budget. I don't know what came over me, of course. Like who knows what he could have said.
Yep.
But wow, no, he fired you up. If you weren't fired up enough already, because I have a feeling you kind of were anyway with whatever you were doing. But yeah, wow, it was life changing.
Changing, life changing. So now I'm a master business coach for females who are self-development and professional coaches, like life coaches, health coaches, other business coaches. And I guide them through exactly on how to keep their groups full and their calendar just flowing with individual clients so that they can spend more time coaching and less time and money acquiring clients. Because as we know, as coaches, I know you're a coach, Suzy, acquiring clients is one of the most challenging things that we're up against. And so one of the things that makes me unique is every week for 12 weeks, all of the work that they do is through an ebook and a workbook and coaching with me. I show them how to rip off and duplicate. It's my version of R&D, rip off and duplicate. And I show them how exactly what I am coaching them through, they can translate that into their own program with their own brand voice. And it's one of the strategies that they use to keep their groups full and individual clients on their calendar.
Wow. Can you give us one example of that?
Absolutely. So one of the things I'm actually working on, and it's fresh top of mind. Just this morning, I was working with a client on clarity. We have a whole week that is nothing but clarity. And because you just need to get so crystal clear on all of the things in your business. And we get down into the nitty gritty, like, what is your networking strategy? I mean, we go deep with that, and you need to be really clear. And if you're a life coach, well, networking strategy might not necessarily be the thing, but what is it about life coaching that is you're focusing on that you could replace that with, would be one example of how they can take exactly what I'm teaching them through my education and rip off and duplicate into their own businesses.
I love that you made sure to emphasize their own branding and, of course, their own voice, because it's a wild west out there sometimes, and people just rip off. It's not,
Right.
it's kind of startling when you see somebody else using the exact language that you use. And then, but on the other hand, it's very easy to use the same sorts of words when you don't dig really deep, like how many people say thrive, for example, right?
Right. Yep. Yes. And one of the things, like, to add more clarity, what is your definition of success? Same thing, because success just gets thrown around. And what does that mean? And let's go deep. Like, oh, success means I have X amount of dollars in the bank. We're going deeper than that. What does success really, really mean to you? And then what does that look like? So yeah, and it's just so much fun.
That is fun. You're making me reflect on something that happened in a podcast episode I did recently with 3 women who were empty nesters and in my academy. And one of them said that her husband wanted to come on the episode and talk about some of the changes he's seen in her navigating this change in their family and their lifestyle that he saw. And I said, well, what did he say? Because she said, you're not coming on this podcast episode. It's for women. But he talked about just her ability. It's kind of like, he didn't use this exact word, but it was kind of like the twinkle in her eye, how calm she was navigating change and just things like that. But he saw it physically. And I thought, ooh, I don't remember exactly the exact words right now, but I know where I can find them. And that's the exact kind of language that you need to use that I think you're talking about. Like, what does it really look like? What does it mean?
Absolutely. It's just so important, and unpacking all of those aspects of your business. And inevitably, I have women say, I had no idea. I thought, I had things all figured out. Or the other thing that I love to hear is I would have never, ever thought about getting so clear and so deep on a topic like that, like their money mindset. Like that is so, it's an overlooked aspect of people's businesses that is so critical. And where do you sit with that? And then where does it come from? Your parental figures, whether they were your actual parents or parental figures, what did they teach you about money and all of those different things and how it impacts the decisions you make and all of those kinds of things. So we go deep. I
So good.
jokingly say working with me should scare the blank out of you. Because I'm going to force you to think about things that you maybe don't want to think about or hadn't thought about for a while and go, oh, she's going to call me on some of my stuff.
Exactly. I remember realizing that I had a thought. It's such a simple one and so common and so destructive that money is hard. Just that simple one. And that also pops up with weight loss work, right? It's like tracking food is hard. Planning ahead is hard. It looks like such an innocent thought. Nobody would ever call you out. Like your girlfriend wouldn't call you out on that, right? It's just something we just accept as factual part of the way we look at the world. But yeah, I'm sure that's got to be one of the thoughts that pops up in your work.
Oh gosh, yeah, yes. Or it's always a struggle. There's never enough, I mean, it's all scarcity mindset. It's a rare woman who comes to me with an abundance mindset. And it's like, oh no, we're changing that. We're changing that.
Now, are they ready to change it?
Well, because women know right up front, working with me should scare the living daylights out of them. I'll use that for a better word, not the word that's on my website. But they know that, and they are prepared to get challenged because they're not a good fit for me otherwise. If they're not prepared to be challenged and go deep, then they're not a good fit for me as a client.
That makes sense. And when you think about the transformation with your clients, about how long is your program and what do you notice about the rate at which they're ready to grow?
Yeah. So I have a 12-week program. My signature program is 12 weeks. And about week, they're so much energy, weeks 1 through 2.5. And then week 3, we really start to go like next level, deep dive. Like I jokingly say, I love it when my clients cry. I love to make them cry, but it's in the best way possible because I challenge them to really think about things and dive deep into things. I actually have a background in social work, and so I utilize my my skills. I call them my little Jedi mind trick skills to help them really tease out, because those are often the things that keep female coaches back. It holds them back. It keeps them thinking small about themselves. And it really does serve as these invisible barriers to their success. And it's like, nope, we're going to address them head on. We're going to shatter the crap out of them. And you're going to be able to walk right through that success door and not look. So yes, I even have a testimonial from one of my clients, and she was like, you made me cry. But it was the first time she went from charging $65 an hour to $500 an hour. And they said yes. And I'm like, yes, I love it when I make my clients cry.
Oh, that's so good. How rewarding. Like my cheeks hurt from grinning because it's just so great when you can really help somebody, and it has to do with worth and scarcity and all that crap. It's just so good.
Yeah. Yes.
Amazing. All right. Now, speaking of crap, midlife can have a lot of crappy moments. It can be amazing and full of possibility too. But one thing that really motivates me, I feel like I'm like a big cheerleader for all the female entrepreneurs over 50 who I think need to be wearing capes, flying around like Wonder Women, because it is hard. And so much of this midlife stuff really does affect women. Everything from menopause and hormones to, what just society and the way women take on so much in their families, etc. So tell us a little bit about how some of these midlife challenges come up for you and how it's gotten in the way of you running your business the way you want to.
Yeah. So I kind of have two things. One being insomnia is one of those things that a lot of women in the middle, they don't talk about, but it is so real. And, I'm not a doctor, so I can't profess, but I'm sure that hormones play a part of everything. Let's be honest.
Basically.
But those shifts and the ebbs and the flows. And so sometimes it makes it hard to show up. And then whenever if we're having a day because we got 2.1 hours of sleep last night, maybe. And then it's like, okay, now I have a full day of clients and all that. Now, how do I manage that? And it's hard. And then we beat ourselves up like, why didn't I get more sleep? And why? And we're our own worst critics when it comes to those kinds of things. Instead of just accepting as is, like when I have those moments, I never have a bad day. And it's not because my life is great and perfect and wonderful, because believe me, I got stuff too. But whenever I have those insomnia nights or something is weighing heavy on my mind or whatever, I'm like, okay, it can either be an opportunity or a distraction. And I have a choice to make at that point. And so then I can choose to have PMA, positive mental attitude, or I can go, I'm well past PMS, but let's face it, we all know what that feels like, or I can have PMS. And of course, I'm never going to choose PMS because it was awful the first time, let alone having to go through it again in the middle. So, so I just have to put on my big girl panties and say, hey, look, yep, you had a short night. Absolutely. But you're going to power through because today I get to coach women around the world who I love, who I'm empowering, who are doing amazing things in the world, who are providing valuable services to all of their clients. And I get to do that. And so that energizes me, keeps me full, and those types of things. Then the other thing that we have is, and I hear this all the time, is technology. Because, let's face it, blink, whoop, tech changed, blink, whoop, tech just changed again, and just when we think we got it figured out, boom, changed again.
It's terrible. And updating things. And my husband will ask me, well, didn't you update this? And didn't you do that? And I'm looking at him going, no, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
No, I didn't do that.
Yeah. And there's so many shiny objects out there that it can be hard to know, okay, what do I really need? And it can almost bring you back. For me, I've been in business 10 years. It can almost take me back to day one, where it's like I'm trying to figure out what tech it is that I need in my business, because it's ever evolving, ever changing. New things are happening all the time. Like 10 years ago, there wasn't AI. Okay, well, there probably was, but it wasn't alive and well and in my face. I didn't know about it back then, where now all the stuff is AI, right? And so you get this shiny object syndrome, and then you got to figure it all out and say, is this worth investing my money in? How do you know?
It's a lot. But I think the thing that makes it worse in midlife is that first of all, I'm making a broad sweeping generalization, but like you said, you hear it a lot too. So many of us have a thought that we suck at technology.
Yes.
Right. And so this was a huge struggle for me too. And I didn't even realize that it was a thought. I just thought it was a fact. Yes, Suzy sucks at technology. So it wasn't until I really understood what I was thinking. I was having a thought that I didn't know how to run a webinar from start to finish. I didn't know how to get the signups, and I didn't know how it all related, and the tech and the automation at the very beginning. But then that thought was so destructive. The other thing, though, I realize I'm kind of this way with appliances around the house, too. I don't like change, and I expect things to stay the same for a long time. Like we put value. Oh, my gosh, the oven lasted 25 years. That's amazing. There's no need to replace that thing, but now today there's so much digital in there. The whole digital environment requires updates and more frequent change. Your phone isn't meant to last forever, but we grew up with things. If you take care of them, they last a long time.
Yes.
Right. So I think that's where the rubber hits the road with being our age. I start thinking back to 1981, floppy disk, computer lab, high school, something, it felt like it exploded and disappeared. I don't know what happened, but it's so afraid to touch anything or to update or to look. So yeah, I do think that tech provides it's a special set of challenges for many people in midlife because of the way we think about technology. It's newfangled, it's like newfangled. It's not because we didn't grow up with it in the same way. I had a calculator in grade 11. That was it for tech.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, the school that I went to, we got our first computer when I was in 5th grade. And there was literally one computer for the whole entire school. And it took up a wall. I mean, it was so massive, right? And so it's unheard of. My husband's a teacher. And now every single student in every single classroom has their own computer that's about the size that can almost fit in your pocket, It's like, okay, times have changed.
Yeah, newfangled, all this newfangled stuff. And yeah, there's huge resistance to it. And that's the thing, too, is recognizing when you need help and allowing yourself to get the help you need. It feels like it's indulgent, but really to really appreciate it, what it means to not get this kind of help and how it's blocking you in so many ways. It's definitely something I think that weighs heavily on midlife gals, women our age. Although I am quite a bit older than you are, even, because we didn't have any computer in grade 5. It was seriously, I still took a typewriter to university. In fact, I made money on the side typing papers for people. Typing.
Wow.
It was a good skill. It was a good skill to have, that's for sure. Okay, so the other thing I think is really interesting to think about is how being a woman this age and an entrepreneur, what's it like to show up that way? What kind of feedback do you get? What do you hear? Are you experiencing ageism, or do you feel like it's a huge privilege to be this age and an entrepreneur?
So I am, authenticity is tied for number one value and with integrity. I can't tell which one's first and which one's second. They're really tied. So I have to operate within my authenticity or things just fall apart. So yes, I am 50+1 years old, but I have purple hair and I have visible tattoos and my nails are always done and they are always purple. And so I do get looks like, old lady, I don't know who you think you are trying to be right now, And I'm like, I'm just being true to me. I am being authentically me. And this is how I show up. I have actually had purple hair for, I think, 11 years now. And I've told everybody, and I'm telling this podcast, do not let me be in the casket without purple hair and nails. I'm just saying, don't let that happen.
What is it about purple? What do you love so much about purple?
The first time I fell in love with purple. So I started kindergarten when I was 4. My parents just needed me out of the house. So I started kindergarten when I was 4. And I remember I've had this personality since I was itty bitty. And I went to Miss Baker, my kindergarten teacher, and she was about ready to teach art. And I was like, I got this. Like, you just need to get out of my way because I'm teaching art. And I held up a purple crayon. I don't know what I thought I was going to do with it, honestly. But I was ready right then and there to teach art. And I remember I had this instant love affair and connection to the color purple because it was empowering to me to think that this 4-year-old girl, I was literally the youngest kid in the class. I was as big around as I was tall. And, the things I needed to know before kindergarten was I needed to be potty trained and I needed to know how to spell my name. And I was like, outside of that, I really didn't have much else to offer. I was this farm kid. I didn't know anything. And so I'm holding up this purple crayon and I just, for whatever reason, it empowered me to think that I could just take over this art class, knowing that I can't even draw a stick figure and just do it. And ever since then, I have just had this love affair and connection with the color purple. And I'm known, my podcast is The Girl with the Purple Hair Talks Business. I mean, I'm known as the girl with the purple hair. If they don't know my name, they know that about me. But people do kind of give me some sideways looks. And it's like, you're a little bit old for that, aren't you? And I'm like, nope.
That's great. So you're finding that there's some judgment about you being you at this age.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And what about, I noticed in your notes, you said something about being able to walk away from a sale. Tell me more what you meant about that, being able to, I guess, define what you're going to put up with and how you want to run your business. Is it something like that?
Oh my gosh. So one of the things, with age comes wisdom. I'm a firm believer of that. And early days of my entrepreneurial journey, I would chase a dollar, man, and I would take jobs and get hired to do things that I was miserable with people who I really didn't like hanging out with just because I wanted money in the bank. And over the last 7 years or so, I have learned to be like, oh no, the money isn't worth it. And it operates outside of my authenticity. That's not who I'm supposed to be serving. That's not who is going to be bringing me joy, because that's one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur is I get to show up and do what I love each and every day. So if I'm chasing a dollar and taking a client just to take a client, I'm operating outside of authenticity, which means I'm operating outside of joy. And why would I do that to myself? And so being able, I'll never forget the first time I said no. A client wanted to coach with me so bad. And I said, you're not a right fit for me. And she's like, what do you mean I'm not the right fit for you? Like it should have been her saying I'm not the right coach. But she really wanted to coach with me. And I said, I'm so sorry. I said, I will not serve you the way that you deserve to be served. And I said, I'd be glad to refer you on to someone who is a better fit. And she was so offended. And my name was kind of mud for a while, but I was like, you know what? I would have operated out of joy every time I saw her on my calendar. And I just wasn't going to do that to myself, because that's one of the beauties of being an entrepreneur. Now, corporate America, you don't have a choice. Like they tell you.
So tell me what you really want in your business going forward. What are your goals? Some of the big things you want to focus on?
So I have a monumental goal of being on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine. And I have had some people give me that little sideways look that I often get. And I'm like, why not me? Why not? Someone has to be on the cover of it every month. Why can't it be me? And so I have a monumental dream of being on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine. And so I try to do things that align with what they might be looking for. So anyone from Entrepreneur magazine who's listening to this, you're going to be able to make contact with me.
Now, you tell a story here of when things got a little out of whack because you weren't in line with your priorities. And you tell a story in your notes about being in the hospital and your husband asking you a question. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh my, talk about going deep and really having to get some clarity. So early days, about the first year and a half of my business, I thought what you had to do to be a successful entrepreneur was, work the proverbial 24/7 and eat, breathe, live, dream, drink, all things business all the time. And I did get in a zone. I got to be honest about that. I got in such a zone that I worked 93 days straight. Now, people might say, oh, that's nothing. I'm telling you, they were 16, 18, 20-hour days for 93 days straight.
Wow.
I missed out on family things. I missed out on friend things. And my body just finally said, enough. And I was severely dehydrated. I wasn't sleeping. I was eating like crap, felt terrible. And I ended up in the hospital for 5 days. And when I was in the hospital, my husband, and this was the moment that crushed my soul, he looked me dead square in the eyes and said, did you forget you were married? I was like, oh my gosh, because I had no idea how much in my quest to be a successful entrepreneur, which by the way, that is not the way to be a successful entrepreneur. Let's just get that out. So that is not good advice. Don't do what I did. You can be a successful entrepreneur without killing yourself. But I had no idea the impact that it was making on him. And he was telling me, I feel lost. I feel lonely. You're not present. Although I worked from home and he could physically see me, I wasn't here. And so he got no quality time with me. And so he was struggling as well. And it took me getting literally hit by a Mack truck, ending up in the hospital, took 5 days to get me hydrated. I mean, and I wasn't sick. I just was that dehydrated.
Wow.
And got myself turned around. And I said, never again. That is not the road to success. And I had to do some evaluating. And I also had to reconnect back with my family and say, I miss sporting events and music events of my nieces and nephews who were in school at the time and missed their birthdays. I mean, it was terrible. Ugh, big mistake. Big mistake.
You learned a lot. You learned a lot. What would you say is the most surprising thing about being this age and being an entrepreneur?
The surprising thing is how much easier it is to have sales conversations. And at least for me, because I believe that I also believe not only with age comes wisdom, but with age comes a sense of privilege. And so I can go into now, I've always had this big personality and I'm not shy on any level. But, when it comes to sales conversations over the years, I've been like I get the social worker mentality of, we have to give our stuff away or, oh, you can't afford that. Okay, I'll give you a discount. And I used to do that, if I'm being honest. And so now I'm so much more confident in my sales conversations. And I'm like, I have one package that's for 12 weeks is $7,777. And I just say that with confidence. And then I just shut up. I don't say, but if you need it to be lower, like I used to do. And that surprised me. I wasn't sure even 5 years ago that I would get to that point where I could just confidently, even though that's all you're worth, that was always stuck in my mind, there was still, we all have our little things, and that imposter syndrome would creep in every once in a while. And even me, as strong and confident as I am, I still have my moments and where I would find myself, or I'd be having a sales conversation and I would try to read the woman's body language. And if I thought, oh, I'll get the sale for sure if I give her a discount. And then I'm like, you dummy. So I don't do that anymore. My price is what my price is. And if I'm running a sale, you will be the first one to know about it. But my price is what my price is.
Wow. And look at that. You surprised yourself.
Yes. Yes.
So good. Well, you've said a lot. I think you're amazing. How can people best get in touch with you?
The best way for people to get in contact with me is through my website. It's just angiegiltner.com and super easy to find. You will not miss me. You will see my purple hair here, there, and everywhere.
Oh my gosh. Amazing, Angie. Thank you so much for taking the time today, sharing all this, for laughing, be authentic, sharing some of the stories that have really hit you personally. I really, really appreciate your wisdom and your authenticity, which I hear are very up there on your values.
Yes,
so good.
Yes.
I really love what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzy. This has been an honor and a privilege. I appreciate you.
Oh, so much fun. You're not getting rid of me. We're going to be hooked up on LinkedIn for sure. Okay, that is it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on your agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with this show, I'd love to invite you to a happiness breakthrough coaching session. It's my laser-focused coaching call that will help you get clear about what's getting in your way as a woman in the middle entrepreneur and confident about your next steps to more happiness in your next chapter. Head over to www.nextchapterbreakthrough.com. Talk to you soon.